This is a special one.
My father was an iron man. We weren't friends, but when he died, I realized I lost something so precious to me.
And Mom?
There was a story my mother told me. I don't know whether that was why I wasn't a friend to my dad.
What was the story?
The story my mother told me was...
There's one memory that I can never forget of you disciplining me. There was one time you bought me exercise book.
Oh.
You remember?
One thing is, if you get the foundation wrong, the whole thing is spoiled.
What does it mean, Babaku?
It's a lie. When the father is gone, the father is gone.
You said that you wish you had paid your mom back for the struggles that she went through, and just when you could start doing that, she died.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel emotional about that?
She mistakenly drank poison where he was looking for a job. So we were left with 7.
Yeah, but how do you reconcile giving what you don't have?
Whatever you do that is so easy to do, it's a grace and it's a gift. Nobody can stop me from giving because it's so hard. I can't stop.
Welcome to another Soul episode, and this is a special one. I have with me one of the greatest women on earth. Talk about resilience. She embodies that. Talk about strength. She exemplifies that. Talk about compassion. She is an example of that. And talk about love. She's a reflection of that. What else can I say? This person has been a blessing to me. Like, the fact that I'm here is literally because of this person, and I think there's a lot of twists and turns and a lot of things that are going to be uncovered today. A lot of things that most people have not heard, even though you might know her. But yeah, welcome to this show with someone who has been a benefit to not just me, but my siblings and everybody that she meets. Here is my mom, Pastor Comfort Dina. Mom, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the invitation.
Especially for the support. Definitely.
Very welcome.
So there's so many things that I can talk about, and I usually start with, tell me a little bit about you, tell me about where you came from and everything. But I'm not going to start with that for this because otherwise we'll be here for 5 hours, 6 hours. So because I want to get straight into it. I've been thinking, okay, where do I start from?
Okay.
But I think I'm going to start from this. When I look at our family, and then I look at dad, and I look at that side. I remember my grandmother. I mean, I saw my grandmother this year actually, and I didn't quite. I don't have any recollection or memory of my grandfather, which is my dad's dad. But I know, and I've met and I've communed with my great grandmother, which is my dad's grandmother, and also my great grandfather, which is my dad's grandfather. So I know that side of my family and the lineage of that. But when I now come to your family, your side, I don't know anybody. I have no recollection of your mother, who is my grandmother. I have no recollection of your father, who is my grandfather, and have no recollection of who their parents are. How does that make you feel?
There's nothing to feel about. It's just life. Yeah, you might not have a recollection of my mom, but you still met her. Yeah, because she didn't die until 1997. So by then you were very young, and I don't know whether you remember when I think it's your brother and said I was Mama Kono. So she's the one that will not tolerate any nonsense. She could just squeeze your ear if you do anything wrong. So the reason why you don't have that recollection of her is because you were young when she died. So it doesn't. Each time I remember my mom's demise, sometimes it wants to take tear out of my eyes. And the reason why I say so, because this was a woman who really, really suffered to bring us up. She really suffered because I remember my father died February 1975, leaving 2 wives and 9 children. So 3 months after my father's demise, the second wife died. So 9 of us were left with just my mother, 1975. So she had to single-handedly, with the help of God, raise us up. And she did everything she could. But unfortunately, before she could, we could be there to do whatever we could to, at the sort of, let's say, pay her back. She died 1977, to be precise, in August 1997. That was when she died. So there is nothing anybody can do about that. It was our time to go. So nobody could stop us. So it doesn't make me feel bad. It's just life.
And what was she like, and what was that like?
My father actually was, should I say, an iron man. We weren't friends. I wasn't a friend to my father at all. And we weren't friends. And when I was very young, if any of my siblings did anything that I didn't like, I would say, okay, I'm going to punish all of you tonight. I will go to my father, give us money to buy, because normally we weren't buying bread from the shop. We always go to the bakery to buy fresh bread. My father, so is it what you sent? All of you go to your parent, go to your mother. None of you, I'm not, that was the extent that we were. We weren't friends at all. But when he died, I realized I lost something so precious to me. So he died when I was very young. Then I was in primary school when he died. Because I remember really the night he died, the night he passed away. So, they just tricked us to say they were taking him to the hospital. But then they got somebody we used to call him Allergy in our house. As they talked to the wives, he's gone. And that was how we started crying. And that was how he went.
And mom? Your mom?
My mom was left alone with all of us. I remember when I was in my secondary school days, I would come back from the school for the school fee to buy one thing or the other. My mother would ask us to sit outside the house and then, be waiting for those who were buying gold and copper jewelry. So my mother had to sell everything she had to make sure that we went to school. Single-handedly, she did everything she could. And to the glory of God, we all went to school. So before she now had a stroke, 1996. And what led to that, I remember I just had my, youngest son then, your younger brother. So when I had that, they had to take her into the hospital. So I think when she got to the hospital, she was living in Ibadan. They crashed her blood pressure. So she walked into the hospital with her 2 legs, but she couldn't come out with her 2 legs. She ended up having problem from there. Then I was living in Lagos. So I was shuttling, going to Ibadan from Lagos, doing all sorts. I was making sure that she had all her medication. But unfortunately, when it got to a stage, then I had a sort of financial crisis with my husband. We had financial challenge, so I couldn't get money to buy medication. That was the beginning of that problem. So there wasn't money. That was when we moved newly into our new house, then 1995, in Mowe from Lagos. So we had this terrible financial challenge, so I couldn't afford the medication as I used to. So then she had another episode of stroke. So that was the beginning of that problem. She couldn't talk because it affected the right side. So she couldn't talk, she couldn't do anything. So that was the beginning of it. Then, it got to a stage we had to take her to my sister in Shagamu who could support. At a stage, when it got to a stage that we couldn't really manage, then we had to take her back to our village, Ijebubu then. And my youngest brother, the youngest of us, had to stay with her till she passed on. So she died August 1997.
You alluded to the fact that you and your dad were not friends.
No,
but it
we
seems
weren't.
like you and your mom were more of a
We were
friendship.
very close. Yeah.
So what was the difference between the relationship between you and your mom and the relationship between you and your dad?
Relationship between me and my mom was so deep, and to the extent that there are some things I might say that might sound somehow. Because I remember as a young girl, when my mother was then, the normal woman menstrual flow, I'll be watching her. Then they were using something like a little napkin or something like that. I'll watch her, I'll take it, I'll go and watch. I was like, what's wrong with it? I said, no, I'll watch it. There was nothing I couldn't do for my mother. She loved us so much. She loved us so much. We were so close. And there was a story my mother told me. I don't know whether that was why I wasn't a friend to my dad. I don't know. So when she told me that story, I was actually grown up when she told me that story. I was now thinking, oh, could that be why we weren't friends? Till today, I couldn't tell you, but we weren't friends at all. I wasn't a friend to my dad, but to my mom, we were very close.
But why? What was the story?
The story. The story my mother told me was when she was in the hospital to deliver me, to give birth to me, and it was time for her. I was born in December during the, in Nigeria we call it Amatan, during the cold season. So my dad didn't come to the hospital to pay the hospital bill for my mother to be discharged with the baby. But then my mother had to send the younger wife. I told my father had two wives. So she had to tell the younger wife to go to her bedroom, open her wardrobe. She had to tell her where the money was. So it was her money she used to discharge herself from the hospital, having me then. So my mother she now said, because this child is your daughter, but you couldn't come to the hospital to discharge me with your daughter from the hospital. That money you didn't spend on me, the devil will take it off you. So, and I realized, I know a story, there was a time my father wanted to get the third wife. So the woman that was coming, the elder sister that was coming with the new wife, they said, then we're living in Ibadan. When they got to the police barrack, a popular one, then they call it Yagoku. Right in front of that place, the woman was shouting, please rescue me, they kidnapped me. That was how they took the woman, everybody, and locked them up. So my mother said, yes, that money you didn't spend on me, the devil has taken it off you. So I don't know, maybe that was why we weren't friends. To be honest with you, I've got no clue. But that was the story I had.
And this is after you grew up, right?
Yeah.
So before your dad passed, or after?
Yeah.
Before he passed?
No, that was after he passed.
He passed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't explain, because she didn't tell you the story until after.
Until after.
It doesn't explain why you feel like you weren't friends with your dad. Or could it be the fact that maybe he thought of himself more of a provider, so he didn't invest in trying to have an emotional relationship with you? Or because I'm just trying to figure out what is the difference between the way you related with your mom and the way you related with your dad. Why is this one a friendship sort of relationship and this one isn't?
My mother was a very soft woman. She was very soft. She could do anything for anybody. And my mother was somebody that used to have everybody around her. But I remember when I was a young girl, I was, a very small girl playing with sand close to my father's car. So we didn't do anything. So we lighted something. My dad came with this, I told you he was an iron man. He came out with this cable and he was beating us. I was so angry. That might be one of the reasons why I said, no, I don't think I can be a friend to this man. And most of the time, as a young girl, my immediate elder brother, they were very close, being the first son. So each time you will be having chat with him, even to the night of the night he passed on, they sat at the corridor in front of our house. He was asking my brother a series of questions. I was just making what is it? What is it? Father and son. What sort of nonsense is this? That was the extent to which we weren't friends at all. He was an iron man. He could beat you. He could do anything. Not that he was so wicked, but he wouldn't tolerate any nonsense. He didn't have that passion of, oh, this is a small child, whatever. No. He would just go straight and do whatever he wanted to do. Everybody knew him to be an iron man. But my mom was so soft.
Right. So what I'm hearing is that he wasn't as emotionally available
for
you, at least not to you, because you probably see that with the relation between him and his son. So he feels like, could we say that maybe he was, because I know in the African culture, a lot of people are like, I want a son, my hair.
It could be.
Could that be the reason? And maybe I feel like there is some level of animosity here, maybe because of that, and maybe the way he treated you.
I wouldn't say so, because when my sister, the first child, the eldest one, when my father died, she was in secondary school. My father would drive from Ibadan to our village, Ijebubo, where my sister was. She was in boarding house. My father would go there, buy food, everything, to go and meet my sister. And I remember my dad would come here and say, I'd like you to be a nurse. I like it because you're just so caring. You're just this. I like to be a nurse. He planted that in me as well. So why we weren't friends, I don't know. Because I remember I would drive down to see my sister in secondary school, buy provisions, buy food, also. So what happened between me? What happened between the two of us? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. But we weren't good friends.
Okay, I have another theory where I'm gonna I'm gonna let us like, because the theory that I have is that a lot of times, and I've spoken to some people, you and it also in my life, you don't understand what, from the perspective of the parent, when you're at that age, when you're that young. It is until later on that you start to think, oh, maybe this is right. For example, the times when you would discipline us, at that time, I probably thought I was adopted. And a lot of us probably think, like, there was a time that I questioned myself, am I really her son? Am I really her child? I must be adopted. No way, I must be adopted. Because at that point, the level of my understanding wasn't to the point of, okay, discipline is necessary for love.
Yeah.
But now thinking back, I'm like, thank God. Do you know what I mean? So that it might be that, and it's unfortunate that he died before you were able to come to that understanding.
And maybe another thing is, I used to be very stubborn.
Yeah.
That might be why.
Yeah.
I used to be very heady, very, very stubborn. So it might be why. And as I told you, my dad wouldn't tolerate any nonsense. Just as I said, we were cooking under the car, just came out with a cable and was just, beating every one of us.
Yeah.
So that's the extent.
Yeah.
So,
you know what I see?
Yeah.
I see some elements of your dad in you. And I see some elements of your mom in you as well. You said your mom is very caring, very loving.
Very, very.
And your dad is no nonsense. And looking back to how I grew up, I would say that you were no nonsense, but at the same time you were extremely caring. It's almost like a hybrid between both of them. And there's one memory that I can never forget of you disciplining me. I can never forget this memory, and I'll just mention a little bit of it, but not go into details. There was one time you bought me exercise book. Oh. you remember? There was one time you bought me. Like, the thing is that when people look at you now, they think, oh my gosh, she's so gentle, she's so compassionate. I wasn't. No, you were not. You were the complete opposite. So you bought me this exercise book, and it was a big deal, to have this exercise book. You can take notes and everything. And then I took the exercise book, and I was a very playful child. I knew that my nose was always running. So whenever you see my two sons now, their nose running, it's like, oh, that's me. And I took this exercise book. I went to school. The moment I got to school, I said, everybody, I have an exercise book. Let us make paper aeroplane. So everybody came. I would just tear the paper. I just, you take. And then we'll make paper aeroplane. We'll be throwing it about. And then I came home that night. Yeah. And then it's almost like you knew what I would have done. Maybe you knew who I was. And then said, Yemi, where's your exercise book? I said, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh no, so I was reluctant. Well, you knew what had happened. You just said, go and bring it now. So I brought the exercise book, and then you picked it up. You did this. I remember vividly. And then you felt how light it was. You said, you have turned this to go and make an airplane, right? I said, I'm so sorry, mommy. You said, I'm coming. And that was when you were working in maximum prison, Kirikiri.
Maximum security prison
as a nurse. And then you went in. You used to have this green lanyard. I knew that was what you're going for. I ran under the dining table hiding. And then, you disciplined us and everything. So my point is that I can see the elements of both your dad and your mom in you, in the sense that you were no nonsense. I would say you disciplined us more than my dad did. Yeah. The only time dad disciplined us was when it got to another level where you're like, okay, you have now done it. And then you hand us over to daddy. and then when daddy disciplines us, he's ruthless. He's ruthless, but he only does this maybe once every 3 months or something. So that's what I remember.
Yeah.
So over the years, you have changed in terms of that, and I've seen that in the life of myself and my siblings, where before it's like, yeah, I mean, go and do this, yeah, I mean, this, and now it's a bit more. You've adopted your tone of voice, you've adopted your way of managing us, and in just in general, why do you think that came or comes with experience, or that comes with understanding, or why did you think that happened?
Um, I would say, when you were younger, because one thing is, if you get the foundation wrong, the whole thing is spoiled. So if the foundation was good, whatever you lay on top of it will be solid. So when you were younger, then you could be molded. But now you are grown up. So you've gotten to a state that you know what is right from what is there. And I want to give God the glory because now you know God. So I wouldn't be in the position I'd be shouting at you now at your age. But looking back, each time I remember, I look at all of you, I give God the praise. I always appreciate God because it was God then. I knew I would not take any. I could remember when I enter a house, anywhere is dirty. But now, even if that happens, there is a way I will say it. So I now realize that you have gotten to a stage that I don't really need to do that anymore. Even with the grandchildren now, I don't do that because I know somebody is there who should correct them. So, but at that stage, you require that then. Because what I say to people when I counsel, I tell people, if your children are okay, your future is secured. Because you are my future. If you are okay, my future. But if you are not, my future is ruined. My old age is ruined. So then that was what was needed. But now it's not needed anymore. Then apart from that, as you are growing in God as well, it helps you. Then number two, as you are aging, there are some things you drop off. Then as you are also growing and increasing knowledge of God, there are some things you drop off. But to be honest, when it comes to the training of children, I wouldn't compromise it. Because if the foundation is destroyed, the whole thing is destroyed. That's it.
So that's when you need to make sure that they
I
are
needed
molded.
to do that then. Because now I remember Biola and child asked me, I said, Mommy, the way you brought it, as if God is wicked. God is not wicked. But then I remember one night, I used to, if you remember, I would say, you want to go to hell? Say no. If you tell lie, you go to hell. But now you know that even your story is in the Bible. All lies will go to hell. But then you didn't know that. So I was there as a caretaker, I was there as a guardian to guide you. And that's why the Bible says, train a child the way you should go. So that when they go, they will not depart from it. So it was my assignment to you. But now that you've known God yourselves, then you know what is right from what is wrong. But if I failed at that point, God have mercy.
So that is the crucial point.
Yes. I
In the
needed
development
that
of a
then
child.
because that was the foundation.
So you mentioned that I was going to go back to the story of your mom after dad died. You mentioned that she really struggled.
She did.
Do you want to talk a bit more of the struggle after the death of your dad?
Yes, because she was left with 9 of us. I remember 1975 when my father died, 3 months after the second wife died. So my mother was left with 9 of us. After, there's something they call a Okpo, whatever, in Yoruba land. So she had to go. We were all taken to Ijebu, our village. So after everything, we had to go back to Ibadan. Then my father has another plot of land beside the house. In my father's house, there were 42 rooms. Then there was another plot of land.
42 rooms.
42 rooms. It's a big house. A big
Wow.
house. We have upstairs story building. We have bungalow. We have boys' quarter for 2 rooms. Then there's another plot of land that hasn't been developed at all beside it. So when we went back, there was no help from anywhere. When somebody that they say Babaku, Babaku in Yoruba land is a lie. When the father is gone, the father is gone. No Baba is left. Because that was what they were saying to us. But
What does it mean, Babaku?
that means that person has died, but don't forget we are here. I'm here as a father. I'm here. I will do that. Nobody did anything. Nobody. So my mother had to take us back to Ibadan, all of us, alone with God. Then I started selling. I started hawking. Then I remember I would come back from school, 6 a.m. I wake up in the morning to go to the market. We will run from the junction. We will run after the cars, the vehicles that brings things from the village. So we run after it. We look for a little smaller. We put on top. This is my home. By the time you finish, you negotiate. They will say, we'll go back to the junction. I did this to support my mother. So I was hawking, I was selling. My other brother, my half brother was also hawking. Mention anything that I never sold. Is it granite? Is it walnut? We'll cook it, we say, is it boiled egg? There was nothing. Is it orange, guava? I was hawking just to support my mother. Then when at the secondary school, each time I came back on holiday, I would go and hawk during the holiday so that I would get money to go back. Because I remember vividly, I developed ulcer as a secondary school girl because of no money. I will go to school from morning till night, till I come back, nothing to eat. My mother was in Ibadan. Then I was with one of my other brother, who is in Ijebu, my half brother. But we don't see ourselves as half. We're all one. So we were living together in our village, secondary school age. So my mother, each time we went on holiday, by the time we were going back, my mother would give us the little she could. By the time we go back, there will be nothing. So we have to manage and do everything. There are some stories I remember that maybe I'll still say them along the line. But as I said, she sold all her wedding jewelry. She sold any nice clothes she had for us to go to school. There was no help from anywhere. So my elder sister had to stop at training school, teachers training school, to support my mother. So then my brother had to go to Polytechnic first. Then I remember when my father would say, I would like you to be a nurse. I like you to be a nurse. You are this, you are that. Then when I was in secondary school, as a secondary school, they would ask, what would you like to be in the future? I said, I would like to be a nurse. I like to be a nurse. Then when it got to that stage for me to go to university, there was nobody, no money. So I now told my mother, I said, you know what, let me go to school of nursing. Because in school of nursing then, nurses were being paid level 4 in Oyo State. So at least I'll be able to take care of myself. So then as a student nurse, every month I'll get my salary. Then once I leave the Dugbeden, where I will go to the bank to collect the money, I'll buy beans, I'll buy whatever food stuff I could afford. I'll take them straight to my mother at Apata. Then I'll now go back to Eleyele at the School of Nursing. So there was nobody to help her. Then my mother had a shop. In my father's house, there was a shop for my mother. There was another one. So my mother, she was selling provisions and the beer and all those drinks. So then each time in the morning, I would take some provisions to the market to go and sell. I would spread nylon, I'll put them the Maggi, put them all those milk, everything. So we were doing all these things to support her. So that was how we survived. And the little rent from the house.
Oh, so because I was about to ask, what happened to the 42 rooms?
The 42 rooms, there were some tenants. But even with some tenants, we had somebody who was actually in charge of the money. And the person, some of the time, will not give us money. But the ones my mother could get, she was using that one to support us.
And what happened to the property? Was it sold?
It was later, I think a few years back, we decided, because nobody goes there, we decided on what to do. I think we sold one part. The other one till now, I think one of my brothers, we did have a caretaker. And I think I spoke with my sister recently that what happens to the other one that we haven't sold? Can they ask one of my brothers to go there and see what is going on? Because nobody goes there.
Okay. Wow.
So it was the other plot of land, somebody took it off us.
Usually in a polygamous setting, you have, say, the two wives and then the husband. And usually the two wives, they are at each other, so they don't usually like each other. And then that sometimes transfers to the children. So what it sounds like is that when your stepmom died and your dad died, your mom took responsibility of all of the children.
Yes.
Even though she didn't have much.
Yeah.
And the children had to go out in the street and hawk. When you think back to that, and because I would like to enter the story of us and what you have done for us and your journey through that process. Were you being consciously saying to yourself that I don't want my children to go through this?
For the hawking, no.
Not just the hawking, because every parent wants to give their child what they didn't have.
Yeah.
Was it something that was running through your mind at the time to say, this is really hard? This is not the way a child should live their life. And
yes. And another thing is, I want to thank God for my husband, because I remember when I met him, the grandmother told me, she said, I learned you're going to get married. You're going to do marriage. I said, yes. She said, your husband, you're not going to be the only wife for your husband. Go and ask about the father. He had many wives. I said, fine, no problem. But thank God for him. because he knows what he's doing. So, and we didn't have too much, just 4. But however, it was something of a desire. While I was younger, as a young girl, I would say, when I get married, I would like my children to have the best I could afford. Come to think of it, when you have your children, you are working, what are you working for? Whatever legacy you are leaving behind is not for the children. A stupid mother, a stupid dad will want to do something and say, my children are out of it. But if you have that consciousness of the fact that whatever I'm doing today is for my children, even when you're thinking of about leaving a legacy for the children. So whatever you're doing, that's why I say if the foundation is solid, whatever you leave behind will be well taken care of. So it was a consciousness because I knew what I went through and I wouldn't pray that my children would go through such. And that was why I say I thank God my husband married just me. You understand? Because when you marry more than one wife, responsibilities will increase. Stress will come in. But in our case, it wasn't like that because we didn't see each other as half brother or half sister. We are one, even till today. That's the way we see ourselves. Yeah. So brothers and sisters. So it was a different case in our case. So, but I wouldn't want my children to go through what I went through as a hawker. Every step of my life till I finished my secondary school, I hawked. Mention what is it I never sold. You will see a secondary school girl, I will come back from the market after I've gone early in the morning to do whatever I need to make guava or whatever. I will go wash it, put in the tray. I will have my shower. I will get dressed properly as a secondary school girl, and I'll carry it on my head to hawk. I will never pray that any of my even my grandchildren, even generations to go through what I went through.
Do you ever feel, because you mentioned something earlier, you said that you wish you had paid your mom back for the struggles that she went through, and just when you could start doing that, she died.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel emotional about that?
Yeah, I do. Because the little I could, before we had the financial challenge, then I did it. But each time I remember it, I feel emotional because I know what she went through. She suffered. My mother suffered for us. We all went to school. Every one of us went to school.
All 9?
No, we lost. The same 1975, we lost one again. The youngest of the second wife. The woman had him after my father's death because she was pregnant when my father died.
Okay.
So it was after my father died, she had him. They called him Rocco. So when she now died, a few months after that she died, they now gave the boy to our aunt. I remember vividly they said there's something they call in Jebumono Jero or something like that. I don't know what it is. So this boy was just going lean and lean and lean till he died.
Wow.
We lost him. So we lost 3 people in 1975 in that family. Then in 1989, to be precise, my immediate younger sister also died.
Your immediate?
Immediate younger sister died 1989.
I never heard there was an immediate younger sister. This is the first time.
I did have. Yes, I did have. Immediate younger sister died 1989. She was, we know what they call Mongol.
No. Is it like
it's gone off my head now. If it comes, I'll mention there's a medical term for it. She was a type.
Right.
And I think at the end they realized that this girl, she had a hole in her heart.
A hole? Yeah,
she was born 1969, and she died 1989. So she eventually died. Shola was somebody that most of this will have to be done for her. So yeah, she died in 1989. She was my immediate younger sister. Then one of my brothers also died 2005. Soji graduated from University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. During the course of looking for a job, this was a boy that would never drink alcohol, nothing. She mistakenly drank poison where he was looking for a job. So he died 2005. So we were left with 7. So 4 from my mom, 2 from the other side. So that was how we remained 6 out of 9. But as I said, Shola, there's no Shola would have gone to school. But Soji finished from University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. So we all went to school because my sister had to stop to support my mom. But then she furthered her education and went to university. So I had to go to School of Nursing to support my mom. But then you know that I finished up at Northumbria University. Yeah? So my brother also did his HND. So she did everything she could to make sure we all went to school. But it's just a sad thing. And there was nothing anybody could do about it when she died in 1997. It pains me every time I remember. Because I was like, had it been she's alive now, to sit down and reap the fruit of her labor. But then, not anybody can do about it. Each time I remember, it pains me. And that was why there was something I said to myself. I said, whatever I couldn't do for my mother, I would do it for my sister. Because I see her as my mother. So that gives me a bit of, relief. Now, I remember when I was seriously sick, 2003, she stood, she was there. While I was having my children, she was there. So there was time I said to myself, whatever I couldn't do for my mother, if not all, at least half of it, I would do it for my sister. Because it relieves me of that pain.
You mentioned that you had some financial difficulty with,
Yes, we
Dad.
did.
I think that was after you moved to Mowe.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me about that story?
Yes, of course. Before we moved to Mowe, my husband was using a car, Audi. The Mowe we moved to, it was our own house. By the grace of God, God helped us. We bought the land. God helped us. The house was built. We moved in. When we moved in, things just changed. So I remember my husband, there was a land my husband had in our village, Ijebubu, which he bought. We built that, I think, up to having to do the roof. So we bought everything that needed for the roofing. When we got to this stage of financial challenge, we had to go and get all those things to sell for us to eat. The car my husband was using had to be sold for us to eat. And that was when I learned how to do kunu and zobo in Nigeria. While I was doing my midwifery at Nigerian Army School of Midwifery in Yaba, one of the soldiers' wives taught me how to make kunu. So it was during this financial crisis, because I had one girl living with me then. I had to learn to do kunu. And after making this kunu, this girl would go and sell in Mowe market. It was after she must have sold and got some money, she went to market to buy gari for us to have breakfast in the family.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was immediate money for immediate need.
Yes. There was a time I had to enter the backyard there in our house because we had few things. It was cassava leaf, the very young one I used as vegetable. I had to grind pepper, no fish, nothing. So I had to do that one, then make gari, aseba, including yourself, for us to eat. I remember there was one Sunday, as workers in reading, then we've done reading. We joined reading in 1995 when we moved to Mowe. Then we were going to CAC, Christ Apostolic Church in Lagos. So when we moved to Mowe, when we joined reading, as workers, you don't eat to church. And I was heavily pregnant with the youngest son then. So we were having just 20 naira home and abroad with us. Then I said to my husband, we came back from church. There was nothing in the house to eat, nothing. I said, if we spend this 20 naira, I have to go to work tomorrow. Kiri from Mowe. We've sold a car. Then how do we eat? I said, you know what? Let me go to Shagam. Let me go and meet my sister. So when I took that money to take a bus from Mowe to Shagamu, where I dropped, I needed 5 naira to take a taxi. I didn't have 5 naira. Heavily pregnant, I had to walk from Awolowo Market to where my sister was living then. When I got there, because I was heavily pregnant, I was so tired. Somebody had to give me mat to lie down. So it was when my sister came back from church. For me to talk, I started crying. What happened? I said, the last 20 naira in my house is what I used to come to Shagam. And she have not eaten since morning. I said, oh yeah, let's go to the market. We entered the market. It was in the evening. She bought so many things. She grinded pepper. She said, yeah, go now. So I went back home. So by the time I will get back to Mowe, I met my husband with Matt outside and what was he giving you? Sugarcane. Because nobody has eaten since morning.
Yeah.
So the only thing my husband, because we had sugarcane then, so he entered the back, he caught sugarcane. I met everybody there on the mat, and we were having sugarcane. So by then, I have come back with grounded pepper, with fish, with elubo, all those things. So I quickly rushed, entered market, and I quickly made something. And since morning, we all ate. So it was a tough time It was a tough time, but God saw us through.
You were a teacher in church, or your
I was Sunday school. We
Sunday
were
school
both Sunday
teacher,
school teachers. My husband and my husband were both Sunday school teachers
and you'll be
in
teaching to
church.
people that God can meet all your
Of course.
needs. God can do this, and yet your own needs were not
Yeah.
being met.
Yeah.
How did you find it, believing what you were teaching?
You might say our meat wasn't met. Our needs were met. Because part of meeting the need was the fact that I went to Shagam. At least we say other 20 naira to go to Shagam. My sister gave us something and I came back. I remember there was time there was nothing. I texted my sister and she sent me 400 naira. So one way or the other, God was sustaining us. And I remember during this hardship as well, that's another testimony where there were some student pastors that came to our house. I never showed that we had that challenge. I still struggled to make sure they had something. Then I'll look for money to buy rich choco then. So I'll put on the table for them. So despite that there was nothing, I was still struggling to make sure that people would come to me to borrow money. They didn't know I didn't have. I remember I had to borrow 1,500 from somebody to give to somebody that came to me for money. So sometimes the Bible says our ways is not God's ways. That's not that some things will come as trial of faith. It's just that God will give us the grace not to fail at that time. During the hardship, the pastor announced, we asked 2 student pastors. They were looking for us. When we got home, I told my husband, I said, let's give them one. What about food? I said, God will see us through. So they came to the house, there was nothing. Pastor announced, if you have food, this and that, please till they left, till today, nobody gave us a grain of rice. And God saw us through. You know them.
Yeah, but
we all did well.
How do you reconcile giving what you don't have?
We say whatever you don't have, you don't give. But when it comes to some things, when we talk about when we talk about the word of God, the knowledge of the word of God, if you don't have it, you can't give it. And when we talk of some material things, there are some things that, look at that woman in the Bible, the last she had was what she gave. And God recognized it. But then this woman came to me and asked me for 1,500 naira. She wanted to start selling rice for school children. I didn't have it. I had to for somebody to borrow 1,500. And till today, she didn't pay me back. And I gave to her. But I had my own challenge. I had my own problem. But I had to look for that money to give to her. And that could settle our own family. But in it all, God was ever faithful. And a lot of testimonies.
I mean, we're going to go into all of
A lot of
There's so many that I want to go touch and go into, and I feel like we're not having time. So I might just let it run for as long as possible and maybe cut it into 2, because we haven't even touched immigration to the United Kingdom. We haven't talked about your challenge in terms of the accident that you had. We haven't talked about the spiritual challenge. We haven't talked about how you and Dad met. So that's another story, because I know that my dad is a poet. The way he writes letters, we haven't talked about. So there's so many that we haven't even talked about. But what I really want to understand, and I think a lot of us want to understand, is where does this need to help people come from? You've demonstrated and you've spoken of the fact that you are willing and able to help people even when you don't have. It's a very selfless act, and I think a lot of us, in terms of me and my siblings, we have adopted a lot of that, almost to our detriment, in some regard, in the sense that generosity, like I see material possessions and things are good things to have. But at the same time, my prayer is always, Father, bless me so that I can bless others. The Bible tells about, give and it shall come back to you. Good measure shall come down. And it talks about your cup overflowing. There's a reason why the cup overflows. It's because so that it can be a blessing to other people, not just to stay in that cup. So a lot of times, I don't mind giving anything. I remember my sister told me of a story, of a decision she made. The Bible says, give your best. And then you look at the story of the old lady that came to church, and then Jesus said the parable, and then Jesus said, okay, out of all these people that gave something, who gave the most? And then he cited the example of that woman that gave everything she had versus some of what she had. And then she said that anytime it's time to give offering, that she gives the biggest amount in a person wallet. And I was like, that to me makes sense. And then I started to do those things, because material thing really doesn't matter. It's good to have them, but at the end of the day, it's so that it can bless other people. That is the purpose. So where do you get this need to help? Because you've sometimes your level of generosity has got me and my siblings questioning, like, why? Like, we have to stop her from doing this. Like, why do you do that? Even when you
Okay.
don't have, you are
Okay.
wanting to do it.
I will tell you. I will say it's a gift. That's one thing. Because whatever you do that is so easy to do, God has helped you. It's a grace and it's a gift. I remember there was one year during the Special Holy Ghost in March. Before then, I had a dream and I didn't understand that dream. Then I said, God, I'm going to go into fast in 3 days. I want better interpretation of this dream. So that day was on a Friday. I said, I would leave from work, from Apapa Kirikiri, straight to the camp. I've packed everything, straight to the camp. I had my juice, that I would just be having juice till after the program, after the Holy Ghost service. So what I saw was totally different. I had a dream I didn't understand. I wanted better understanding. I decided to go on 3 days fasting. But what I saw a ladder going up and somebody held my hand. And he said, look at it. You're going to go high. Don't stop giving. I said, okay. He now showed me, said, look at these ones. He says, they've gotten their reward. They do it. They make noise. But keep doing it. Keep doing what you are doing. When I was, it was a different thing that brought me here. That means, okay, if that is my ministry giving, continue to give me the grace. I'll be doing it. So that was why I said, there are some times, when you do things, if God gives you that grace, you won't find it difficult. Even if you try to stop, it will be a challenge. You won't be happy. And that was why I said, nobody can stop me from giving. Because it's so hard. I can't stop. Because when I saw that revelation, I told my husband, I said, it was a different thing I wanted, but this was what I saw. When we were talking about immigration, and I now saw the benefit of all these things. So that's why I said, sometimes we don't understand how God works. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are far from our thoughts. The most important thing is when he gives you the opportunity to do something, do it. Matthew chapter 25 says, if you have done it for any of this, you have done it unto me. And Galatians chapter 6, verse 10, it says, if you read from verse 9, it said, don't grow weary in doing good. In due course, you will reap it if you faint not. I've seen that.
How did you and Dad meet? From what I heard, he was definitely not the typical man that you would have wanted, but somehow here we are.
When we talk about anybody's life, path of life, way of life, journey of life, everything's in the hand of God. I remember I have a friend. When I was in secondary school, I stood by her. She had challenge. I remember I took a risk all the way from Ibadan. My mother was in Ibadan. So we were on holiday. I had to travel from Ibadan to Ijebu. And I told my mother that I was going to Odono, the same Ibadan, not far from, but actually I went to Ijebu because of this, my friend. So I stood by her and she got over that problem. All of a sudden, when I went, both of us we sat for the School of Nursing exam. So when we finished, she said, her husband would like to see me. I said, I don't have money for transport. She said, don't worry, he has given money. So I now went to my mother and said, I'm going with her to Imota. They said, where is the money? I said, she said he has given her the money. So my mother said, when will you come back? I said, I'll come back tomorrow. She said, okay. So I went with her. When we got there, her husband is my husband's brother. The same father, but not the same mother. Not knowing that she was saying to the man to marry me. The man said, I cannot marry two friends. So because that couldn't happen, she now said, okay, uncle must marry her. She didn't tell me anything. Neither did they tell my husband anything. So it was one day, we got there that day, we slept, we woke up in the morning, the husband went to Lagos. So I was now helping her to plait her hair on the corridor. She now showed me a photograph. She said, this man, uncle likes you very much. I said, beg, forget about this. Because I had my plan. I said, no, please. So, no, please. He likes you so much. He has never seen me, not even my picture. So it was a plan between her and the husband. So when this happened, so before I knew it, I just saw the man coming. I said, yeah,
The man has
in
in
trouble. Yeah,
my
your
dad.
dad. I said, yeah. I said,
The
yeah.
man.
Yeah. So when he came, I became uncomfortable.
uh,
I said I didn't have money. So I think there was some family, they were doing something around there. So they brought to, they said, I said, no, I will not eat. I didn't eat. So I now started crying. I said, give me money, I'm going back to Ibadan. They said no. So I said, no, I'm going back. So they gave me money. I went back to Ibadan. So then throughout my school of nursing, my husband would write letter. I just ignored
oh,
it.
so the moment he saw you, he was thinking, because this is the first time he would have seen
The
you.
first time, he just said he loved me. Then I said, but
Then
my mind wasn't there.
so he said he loved you then.
He said,
and this is the first time he
I
met
like you. I like you. My mind was, I beg, all this. I just wanted to just leave that environment because I became very, very uncomfortable. So I went back to Ibadan. So all my school of nursing, my husband would write letter, he would do this. I ignored everything.
Wow.
But then it was school of nursing, I gave my life to Christ. So after I gave my life to Christ, one of our sisters, I said, I can't marry this man. He's not born again. So I can never forget that Sister Shika. She said, Sister Bola, let's go and pray about it. So when they said, that's your husband, I said, but how can I? Then I was praying one prayer. I said, God, if this is your choice for me, turn him. Let him do your will, even more than my own. That was my prayer then.
Wow.
And God answered. And that was when I knew that, yes, it's the choice of God for me. Because I prayed that prayer, the sister joined me. And that was how God did it.
And fast forward, he's the pastor.
He's a pastor.
From I like you.
Say, I like you. I like you. It is this. My husband will tell me, say, everything I want in a woman is in you.
Wow.
Everything even till yesterday, everything I want is in you.
Wow.
That God gave me what I want. But I'm just happy. I just thank God that I didn't miss him. Because I would have married, he would have married, but maybe we'd have to be struggling wherever each one of us is by now. No.
How do you advise or counsel young men and women when they say that when God, there are two scenarios. So there's sometimes when God will say, okay, this is the person for you. There's the example that usually gives and says that the gate man and then the business owner, and she looked out the window and God says the gate man is your husband. And she rejected it, but after a while she warmed up to it. So what do you say to people where God says this is the person for you, but they don't want to believe it?
It's a risk. The best thing, if God says is your man, whatever, your woman, just take it. Because I remember I went to my mother. I told her, I said, this is my challenge. My mother said, okay, because then, my husband said, let's go to, my mother said, let's go to, there's one man, white garment church. Baba Kerubu and Seraph, Baba Toyin Alagbala. So my mama said, let's go there for prayer. When they went there, they said, that's your husband. So when they said that, I said, when I now give my life to Christ, I said, Sister Shike, this is it. So he said, Sister Bola, let's go and pray about this. Okay. They said, that's your husband. I said, that. Then if that is it, so be it. Then I just made up my mind.
How do you know that this is what God is saying? Because, the heart of man is desperately wicked.
You can know it.
It will just say, God has told me, but God did not tell you anything.
For me, not that God told me, as I said it.
Yeah.
But I had to go to people, I had to go for prayer and this. It was when they said, that is your husband. And I started praying. That God, if it is truly your choice for me, change him. So I wouldn't say I got a revelation. I said, no. No, I didn't. But these days, people make that mistake. They say, I feel butterfly. What type of butterfly? Some people will say, I have that conviction. What is your conviction? So it's so tricky, so dangerous. But if the Bible says out of 2 or 3 witnesses, the truth will be established. So if somebody else says that's your husband, then with another sister in the fellowship, after giving my life to Christ, we went up, but they said, no, that is your husband. I didn't receive anything personally by myself, no.
But you prayed and God changed.
But later, when they now said, that's your husband, that was when I started praying. I said, God, if this is what you want me to, if it is what you want me to do, change him. Let him do your will, even more than my own.
I'm trying to get the story in chronological order, because I wanted to drive into how you felt when we were going to marry, but I will not talk about that yet. Let's go into immigration. What I remember was 2 years before we immigrated into the United Kingdom from Nigeria, you were already here. And I can't really remember, maybe because I was still about maybe 10 I was 10 years old then. And
You were more than 10. Damiela was 10, around 9 thereabout. So
I was,
you
when
were
you
over 10.
left,
Yeah, I left 2005.
5. So
So
I was around 10, just
11.
over 10. I wasn't
Yeah.
quite 11 yet, I don't
No, I
think.
left in September. So you were
September,
11.
so I was already 11.
You
Okay.
were 11, yeah.
So I can't really remember too much of that time for some reason. I remember, and what I mean by that is I don't think I felt your absence too much, or I can't remember feeling your absence too much. I remember whenever you would come back, I would be so happy, joyous, jumping. Oh, my mom is here. My mom is here. You would usually bring us sweets, and then I would take those sweets. I would now go to school. Say, yeah, I have sweets from UK, from London, and then I would be selling it to some girls. So, I did that selling of sweets even in the UK when I came to the
Really?
UK. Yeah, when I came to the UK, you would buy us these they were like these tubs of little
Yeah.
bowl sweets. They were sour, sweet sour, and I'll come to the UK and I'll be selling it to my friends for money, and then I'll grab the money. I'll go and use it. I was selling. I even started selling. Wow. I started selling, and I think this is where the business spirit came. I started selling apps like games.
Okay.
So when I was 12, 13 years old, I learned how to download games from online on computer and how to get them onto your phone. So a lot of times in those times, the kids used to play games on the computer. So you go to computer, that's when you play. There was no games on phone. So I learned how to do that. And then I started downloading tens and tens of games from computer onto phone. And then I knew how to transfer it from one phone to the other phone. So I started selling that to my classmates. So I'll say, have you played this game? This Sonic, you want it? That'll be £5. And then they'll give me money. I'll not transfer this game to this one. They'll give me a transfer. So there were too many ways. I don't know where that came from. But my point is that I remember when you would come and I'll be, mommy is here, mommy is home. I think you came maybe once or twice a year.
Once.
Once a year. So in those 2 years, I only saw you 2 times.
Once
in 2 years. So you only came once ever.
I left Nigeria September, to be precise, 18th of September 2005. Then I came home October 2006 for the first time. Then that was the only time I came. Then people joined me February 2007.
7. What was it like living here without family? I don't think you knew anybody.
When I came here, Daddy Tosin was here.
Yes.
When I came, he was here because
yes,
he was
yes,
here.
yes.
He was here when I came. So because it was actually the one who initiated it, who sold the idea that they were looking for nurses in UK. I think a friend of his came to Nigeria then, so he said I should go and meet that one in Shagamu with his wife. So I went to my sister's place. I met the man. The man told me a letter. They will need to write a letter. The man wrote a letter to NMC then for application, all sorts, and that to say he will pay the fee. So it was one that initiated it. So it was in UK then. So when I came, it was one that actually sent a cab to come and pick me from the airport straight to where I was living then.
In London.
Yeah, in London.
But he then relocated to London, to USA.
He didn't go to USA until after I've been here.
Okay.
So what happened was I was in London. Then the following year, that was in September 2005. In 2006, I moved to Newcastle. But that was when I got a job as a nurse. So that was when I relocated to Newcastle while he was still in London.
What was it like living here as someone that doesn't know the land?
When I came here, the first day I came, Daddy Tosin welcomed me. He received me, and where I was living then, like if you've ever been to the Celestial Church of structure, they have where they use they call it like a compound or a bole in Yoruba. So they gave me a little corner there with one mattress. That's where I was living. Not that I had a room. I slept there for 3 months and 5 days, 5 nights. So it's just like an open place where their members stay. So they gave me a corner with mattress there. Then I had my stuff there.
Wow.
So if I needed to shower, I would use the same bathroom that everybody used. And to do wash, no hot water, with my hand, with cold water, everything.
In a cold country, where you're coming from a hot country to a cold country, and then you're using cold water to wash where you're used to using. Wow.
So that Tosin was the one, making sure that I had something to eat, and people in that church were supporting me. That was why I said God does everything He does. As I was there, remember there was time I bought some things, I cargoed it to you, Nigeria. Then I wasn't working. It was the money people were giving me. Mommy Tayo, take this. Mommy Tayo, take this. The Celestial member people, take this, take this. You might want to buy this. So I was able to gather little money. So the time I would leave that place, there was a day I was washing clothes in that bathroom. There was one woman. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm washing clothes." She now started looking for my daddy to say, "Papa, what are you looking? In this code, washing clothes." She now asked me, said, pack everything, pack everything. She took me to a laundrette, put money in the machine, bought me soap. I said, "From today, don't let me ever see you wash clothes with your hands with this cold water." So that was how that stopped. Then that Tosina had to go and look for a house for me. So he now, got me a room in a Forest Gate in London then. So I moved into that place. And it was one pay because I wasn't working. So that was started paying for the house. That was how I left that place. Well, I slept in that Celestial compound for 3 months and 5 days. So it was like a day to Christmas, I moved to that house that I got for me. But then, while I was living there, I was attending the sanctuary, RCCG. Even though I was living in that place, I was attending church. The where I was living was in Bromley Bible. Yeah. But I was attending RCCG church in Stratford because I was already ordained assistant AP, assistant pastor in Redeem before I left Nigeria. So they knew that I wouldn't join them, but I was living there. So I would go to my church. By the time I come back on Sunday, they haven't finished selling. So I would just lie there. By the time they are doing LME, whatever, I would just be there like this. So that was how I managed for 3 months and 5 days. Before that was now got me a room and I moved a day to Christmas. So Stratford, they now sent somebody to pick me up because on Christmas Day, no transport. Somebody picked me up from that house and dropped me back after the service.
And then you moved to Newcastle?
In June, when I got a job as a nurse. It's a long story.
That's a long story.
So because as I was in that place, I was looking for, before I could even get a job to work as a carer, there wasn't any. And this auntie I mentioned will call somebody, say, my sister is coming. I went to Bleed, I went to everywhere. I couldn't get a job as a carer. So I ended up working as a kitchen assistant. So I registered with an agent. And then, so they will, if any school needed somebody to wash children's school plates, so those are the ones they will get from me. The first day I would do it, I scalded my hand.
Hot water?
Hot water. Wow. The first work I would do, I was washing this. So something for selling it, so the hot water just, the whole of this place.
Wow.
I didn't tell anybody. I covered it. Wow. The next day when they called me, could you do this? I said, yes, I could. With that wound, I didn't take any treatment. I went the second day. I covered it so that they would not ask me not to come.
Because you wanted to work? Because
I wanted to work. So I did that one. I had no treatment, nothing. Before everything. When that healed, I was managing like that. I couldn't get a care job. But one day, I was coming from where I went, primary school, I went to wash the plates. Something said, enter this job center and seek for job. Reluctantly, I entered in Stratford. When I entered, I went to the first job point. I went to the machine there, the job I picked up. So there was one job in Northumberland, Blythe. So I said, I don't know where. Something said, print it. I printed it. So as I wanted to continue to look, the job point packed up. I said, what is it? Something said, why don't you go and sit down and call the number on that place? I sat down and I called the number. It happened to be a Yoruba man as the manager of that care home, Thomas Knight Care Home. So when I called the man said, can you come tomorrow for an interview? I said, I've not filled the form. He said, just come. I said, okay, I will come. When I got to, I realized I didn't have money for transport. I didn't have £2. Wow. Then I started crying. I said, I don't have money. I now rang him. I said, I'm sorry, I won't be able to, I don't have money. Something said, why don't you go and meet a member of that parish I was worshiping? She's a solicitor that practices in this country. So I left home. I went to her. When I got to Ashimba, they said she went for a training to give some people training. She wasn't there. I sat, I waited. So when she came back, she said, what happened, ma? I said, please, I have an interview tomorrow in somewhere called Northumberland. The man said, I don't have money. She put me in her car, took me to the train station in Stratford, bought me return ticket, £134.50, and gave me £100 cash. Wow. Said, my sister, you might want to buy something. Go. I said, thank you very much. So I quickly went back, called this man again. I said, I'm sorry, I'll be coming tomorrow. So that was how I came to Northumberland, to Blight for the interview. And I came fasting. I had my juice. When I got there, the man wasn't there, the manager wasn't there. So one of the executives sent him on hand. So the woman that I met, one white lady, gave me a handshake and asked if I wanted tea. I said, no, I'm fine. Because I was fasting. I came fasting with my juice. He said, okay. She said I should wait that he will soon be back. When he comes, I will sort out. I said, okay. So when the manager came back, he said, I was told they offered you cup of tea. He said, no. I said, I didn't. He said, you've already failed. He said, for that lady to have given you a handshake, she doesn't do that to anybody. She gave you a handshake. I said, yes. And she offered it. I said, he said, next time, if you go for an interview in this country, if they offer you, even if you don't drink it, accept it. You can sip it later, then you throw it away. So that was how he gave me application from that day. I filled it. He did interview. And my visa was supposed to expire, I think, June that year. June that year. He said, don't worry, I will get you work permit before your student visa, because I was only given 1 year. Before your student visa runs out, I will get you work permit. So I came back. I went back to London. So when I went back to London, then I now got a care job. So I was in that care job. One day I was in the lift in uniform as a carer. Something said, kneel down in this lift and thank me. I said, uniform. Some say, if it's Babangida, will you not do that? Immediately I said, God, I don't know why you said I should thank you, but I thank you. I'm grateful. The next day, they called me that we've got your work permit. Can you start work tomorrow?
Wow.
That was how I moved to Newcastle.
Wow.
That was like, whatever you are doing, God has a plan. God has a plan.
It might seem rough.
Yes. There's a testimony. 2004, when I went for, I left Nigeria 2005. When I went for a promotional interview with prisons then, from superintendent to CSP. When I came back, one of the prisoners then, I won't mention the name, he called me, he said, Mrs. Dina, he said, I saw a dream. I saw a farm, corn, full of corn. You were plucking it. I said, amen. Then there was one I saw myself. I saw that in my compound, there were trees of mango. They were ripe. Somebody was good. I said, no, don't pluck them. They are mine. They are mine. I chased it. I said, no, they are mine. I started plucking. It was the following year I came to UK. The way and manner I came, it was not because I had no money. So that was, I said, sometimes when we do some things, it's as if stuff is not easy, but there is a reason. And with that revelation that God gave me, see this ladder, you are going, but don't stop giving. So that's what I always say. I say my life is a bunch of testimony.
Yeah. I know that you are tight on time. So I will, there's so many things I still want to touch, and I'm just going to list them so that we can have a part 2.
Yeah.
I still want to touch when you came back to get the family and what that was like, the difficulties and the lessons from that. I still want to touch the accident that you had, I think in 1994. That was the year I was born.
Yeah. You were just a few months.
Wow. I remember the picture.
Yeah.
I have the picture. I think you still have the picture.
I see.
If you do, I will grab it. I still want to talk about the spiritual attack that you had. I remember that.
2003.
2003, to the best of my ability. And I want to talk about, coming in the UK, so that the other part of the life in Newcastle, how you started to build and all of that. I want to talk about raising the siblings here, because it's a different thing when you come from from Nigeria, the way you raise them versus in the United Kingdom, now surrounded by so many laws and policies, and how you manage to do that. I want to definitely talk about my brother, my younger brother, when he decided that he wasn't going to go to university, and how you manage. I remember that speech. I can't say the full thing, but what was going through your head and how you managed to convince him to be the person that he is today through that my dad couldn't do, that none of us could do. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the starting the Church of God Restoration Chapel and the difficulties with that. I want to talk about so many things, but I'm just listing them. But I think we're going to have to end it here for today. And yeah, if you want to see the part 2, and if you want to see more of my mom's story, leave a comment in the description. Subscribe and follow and hit that notification bell icon. And I think you are in for a ride in terms of inspiration, in terms of learning lessons, how to do it, raising 4 children, 1 girl, 3 boys, and yeah, being loved in that process. And do you have any? Let me say the last thing, without alluding to the rest of the things we're going to talk about. If you were to, if you could summarize your early life up until that point in Newcastle, and you were to give a lesson from it that you really want people to hold on to, what would it be?
It's God. Hold on to God. Because for a girl that the father died when she was at a tender age, and for such a journey all through, it was just God. As I said, I used to be a chorister. Right from my primary school age, I was a chorister, but I had no knowledge of born again or giving your life to Christ. But because God knows the end from the beginning, God knows that He has a plan for me. He knows I'm going to be a vessel in His hand. So He decided to guide me. So everything, if you remember the life of Joseph, everything is God. So as long as you are on the side of God, leave it for God. He will sort it out. It might be rough, it might be tough, but at the end, it's blossom.
I was this morning actually. It talks about in the book of Malachi. It talks about refinery of silver, and how the relationship between God and us through that refinery. And then somebody went and did a research about how you refine silver. And literally, what happens is that the refiner, the person, he sits there, holds this piece of silver inside the fire, round the middle where it's the hottest, and he has to sit there. And sit there and wait. And the reason why he's sitting there and wait and watching, not going anywhere, is because if you leave it a little too long, it would be bad. If you take it out too early, it would be bad. And they ask the question, so what are you waiting for as you're sitting here waiting for this? And how do you know it is ready? And it says, until I start to see my reflection in it.
Exactly.
The same way with God. You were going through all these things. We go through all these things. We need to know that God is there watching.
He is.
It is burning. It is hot. It has a lot of fire. It feels like it's impossible. He's refining us. He's watching. The moment he sees his image in you, it's like, you are ready. And I'll leave you with
because
that.
whatever you haven't gone through, you don't have the experience. You can't help somebody in that situation. And that's what I always say to people. You must have heard me say this. I've been there. Feel free to come to me. I have been there. I know what it is to pass through hell on earth. Now, as a young girl, hawking to survive, to support mom, no. It's God. It's God. It's God.
It is God. And thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.
welcome.
And the next time, hopefully it will be when there's a bit more time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.